In the last tutorial, I've shared with you the Grandma's Jars end of month summary process and how it can help you identify exactly how much you need in your central bank account to ensure that all your future expenses are covered as they turn up. In this tutorial, I want to share with you the story of one of my clients. This is an inspirational story, but it's not all that unusual. They are a fantastic example of what can happen when you diligently apply the system that I'm teaching to you now. I can't wait to share it with you. What I'd like to do now is share with you a case study of one of the clients that I've been working with over the past 18 months. This is Dean and Emma. Now, Dean and Emma, you can see here, jumping in the snow in Japan, a trip that they have just recently taken. They've done incredibly well over the time that I've been working with them, but when they first came to see me, their finances weren't in all that good a shape. So what I want to do now is take you through their story and show you how they went about filling that first pool of funds, just so you can practically see how we apply what I've been teaching you over the last 2 to 3 tutorials. Dean is 28, he's a civil engineer. Emma's a high school teacher, she's 29, and this is the debt that they had when they first came to see me. They'd been living together for quite a long time and got married about a year and a half previously. They had a mortgage for $329,000, a car loan for $8,000. The heartbreaking debt in all of this was the honeymoon loan, which was $6,600. They'd had a great honeymoon, but when they came home, reality really hit and their finances struggled so much for that first 18 months of married life, which is the catalyst for them coming to see me. They also had a Visa card and a Go MasterCard. So quite a mess for such an early stage of life, but you will see that we've done some great things with them. So let's have a look now at our first few steps. Okay, so the very first step, as you should well know now, is we needed to make sure that their income consistently exceeded their expenses. So we went through the process of the worksheets. They did the 3 tasks that I set them, where they started recording all their expenses. They went back through 12 months of credit card and bank statements. They did their gifts list. Then they filled in their budget worksheets. And then we set up their Grandma's Jars budget. So you can see that they've got a minimum monthly surplus of $443 and an average monthly surplus of $1,056. Now, I can tell you this wasn't the case when we first went through the process. In fact, they were just break even. But with a few cuts and a little bit of tweaking things, and yes, we had to get rid of a few expenses, we've managed to get them into a very strong position here as long as they stick to their budget. So let's have a look at how they went. Once Dean and Emma had identified a sustainable monthly surplus, the next step was to make sure that their bank account matched what their budget says they needed. Now that should be very familiar to you because that is what we've been discussing in the last couple of tutorials. We need to make sure first and foremost that that pool of funds is full, that we can use cash or money in the bank to pay for our future expenses rather than relying on our credit card. By taking this step first, what they were doing was removing their reliance on the credit cards and replacing it with money in the bank, which broke that cycle that had kept them paying off the credit card, then it would go back up again, then they'd pay it off again, then it'd go back up again. We were breaking that cycle. Now, this was always going to be a struggle for these guys because they literally had been living paycheck to paycheck for the best part of 12 months. So there was rarely anything in their bank account except around payday. So what we needed to do first was identify, well, what was the balance of your jars? What was that starting balance of your jars? So we went through and looked at when all their expenses were due and we adjusted each of their jars so that by putting aside 1/12 from today, they should have enough money to cover those bills and expenses as they turn up. As I mentioned before, it's one thing to adjust your jars to say what they should have and quite another to have that money sitting in the bank account. And you can see here at the end of the very first month, Dean and Emma needed, just to cover their jars, $4,149.02. So let's have a look now at how that actually looked when we did their end of month summary. So here we have the actual snapshot of Dean and Emma's end of month summary page after their first month of budgeting. So this was their first end of month summary. Up the top there, we've got the table with their bank accounts. We've then got the credit cards. And at the bottom there, we have the end of month summary calculations, the end of month summary formula. This is where we determine how much we need to have in that first pool and whether or not we've got enough money in our bank accounts to match it. So you can see on the left-hand side there, Dean and Emma had $3,680 in their central account on the last day of the month. Now, they hadn't had that much money in there for a long, long time. It just happened that their first month of budgeting coincided with a 3-pay month. So they had an extra $3,500 flowing into their bank account in that previous month. What we've then got is, in brackets there, is the 3 components that make up that first pool that they need to fill up. So they needed to make sure whatever they'd added to the credit card that month, so the $795, that they had their everyday allowance for next month, and that they had the jar funds remaining for that previous month of $4,149. So those 3 things added together make up the balance of that pool. This is what they needed to have, and in total, that was $6,302.89. But you can see what they actually had in the bank account on that last day was $3,680, which meant that they had a deficit of $2,622.26. This is what they were short to fill their financial hole. This is what they were short to fill that first pool of funds. Now, this looks like a really big figure, but it's not all that uncommon. So let's just go back and have a look at Dean and Emma's position summary. We can see that as long as they stick to their budget, they should have $443 every month spare, which means that they can use this $443 to gradually whittle away at that $2,600 shortfall that they've got. Here is an illustration of Dean and Emma's journey. On the right-hand side, you can see the $6,662 they are putting to each of their jars on a monthly basis. So this is that 1/12 of each of their future expenses. This needs to happen first so that when their expenses turn up, they have the cash sitting in the bank to pay for it. No more need for the credit card. To the left of the little man there, you can see the $443. This is Dean and Emma's surplus that is being used to chip away at that shortfall they have in that first pool. So this money will sit in their central account, and it will grow the balance of their central account faster than the balance of their jars grows. So eventually, they will have more in their central account than they need to cover what their budget says they should have. So if we look at this journey here, month 1, $443 extra goes into the central account, which means that their shortfall has reduced from $2,662 to $2,219. Month 2, same thing. The $443 surplus stays in that central account, and they get $443 closer to what they need to fill up their pool. So $1,776. And this went on for 4 months. And then in the 5th month, Emma had a 3-pay month, where all of a sudden, instead of $443 being put aside or added to that central account, they had an extra $2,014, which suddenly wiped out their shortfall, and they had money overflowing from that first pool into their rainy day fund. So we can see down here, there's $1,124 that was extra at the end of that 5th month in that central account. That $1,124 overflowed then into the second pool, which is the rainy day fund. That was their journey, give or take a few dollars each month, but they pretty much stuck to their budget and did a brilliant job of filling up that first pool. I hope that you're as inspired by Dean and Emma's story as I am. I also hope that this process is starting to make more sense to you now that we've applied it to a real life situation. I always get such a kick out of sharing stories like this because these are real people doing what it takes to transform their financial situation. And there's no reason why you can't do it too. So I'm hoping right now you have the knowledge you need to take that first step, to make sure that that first pool is full, that your bank account equals what your budget says you should have. And in doing that, you will then be certain that you've got your future expenses covered so that as they turn up, the funds are sitting there ready to pay them. You don't need the credit card anymore. In the next tutorial, we are looking at that second pool, the rainy day fund, accumulating $2,000 to $3,000 so that you've got your unexpected expenses and emergencies covered.